Welcome to Victory Echoes. This is the Christian Apostolic Church podcast. We are growing apostolic legacy. Today I have Tim and Sister Vicki Ghiloni, and we are so excited to have you. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having us.
I wanted to start with a fun question. You know my question, but we'll start with it anyway. Actually, no, we'll mix it up. Which of Jesus's miracles do you wish you saw firsthand, like firsthand eyewitness? You can go, Vicki.
I think when Lazarus, when he rose him from the dead, I would love to have been there to see him come out of that tomb alive.
Yeah.
And probably giving God all of the glory.
Yeah.
I think that would really be awesome to see.
Yes. Yes. There are a lot of things that you wish you could see, but seeing someone come back from the dead, that's pretty profound. Yeah.
I think it would have been pretty amazing to watch Jesus walk on the water.
Yeah.
And probably rather interesting to watch Peter follow him.
Yeah.
And not be as successful. But
yeah,
that would have been pretty amazing to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Both of those are...
I spend a lot of time on the water, fishing and boating, and so I can see the miraculous part of that.
Right. And you were there. You went to Israel with us. And so you were on the Jordan, the
Sea of Galilee.
Sea of Galilee,
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I got all
Yeah.
of the names. But so you saw and you could see how that storm, it was, that's a very big area. That would be very scary to just get stuck in. And so to see him walk on water there would be really, really cool.
Right.
Yeah. Was that when you were there in Israel? Because you were there, what was the most profound thing when we were there that you kind of stuck out to you?
Being baptized in the Jordan River, and I didn't see this because I was in prayer with my hands raised, but people told me that when the pastor put me under, there was a break in the clouds and the sun kind of shone through on me.
Wow.
And at that time, I was going through a real serious health issue with cancer, so it was very meaningful to me.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was there, and yeah, that's awesome to hear your side of it, that you were kind of...
One of the ladies that was with us from, I believe it was friends of the pastors from St. Louis, maybe, took a picture right at that instant, and I always wanted to get a copy of that picture, but I never was able to get one.
Well, we will. Hope she's listening. If you're listening,
yeah,
send Brother Tim that picture.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So we started this and then we didn't get to it. What is, Sister Vicki, your favorite character? Who is your favorite character in the Bible and why?
I would have to say David. David was a man after God's own heart, and David had feet of clay, and he made mistakes, but he repented of them, and he was contrite, and I think the Lord really, really loved him. He was, that was one person I would like to meet.
Yes.
David.
He was also, it said he was handsome. So there you go.
Well,
Handsome and beloved by God. Praise the Lord.
praise the Lord.
All right.
She's used to being around handsome.
She is. She is.
I actually have three, if I could
Yes.
quickly.
Go ahead.
The first one was the little boy who gave the fishes for Jesus to bless and feed the multitude.
Yeah.
I always thought, first of all, must have been a very generous little boy, and through his act of kindness, many people were touched.
Yeah.
The second one to me would be Joseph of Jacob's, I think, 11th son. Mm-hmm. His life speaks for itself. The tribulations and trials he had, temptations he had, but always came out on top.
Yeah.
But the one I really admire is Joseph, Mary's husband, Jesus' stepfather, who didn't put her away, when he found out she was with child, before they were married. And then to be Jesus' boss. I mean, Jesus was a carpenter's son.
Yeah.
So he must have worked in the carpenter shop with him.
Right.
And how would you like to be Joseph to tell him he didn't do that right?
Right.
He didn't measure that right. He didn't cut that right.
Right.
I'm just guessing. But,
no. I mean, the Bible doesn't give detail, but he grew up and he was, you're right. He was carpenter's son. So,
But he must have been a man of true humility and a humble man to keep Mary as his wife. And
Wow. You surprised me. I mean, you think of the big ones, but the boy who gave Jesus his lunch and Joseph, those are good ones. Those are good ones.
They meant a lot to me.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. So I am going to start with you, and I just kind of, for those who may not know you or don't know your story, and you have an amazing testimony. So I just kind of, wherever you want to start in your life journey, maybe you could, before you got in this church, or, wherever you want to start or end, I would love to hear your testimony.
Okay. Well, I was one of 12 children. I was the seventh child and the fifth son. So I was right in the middle of the pack. A very devout Catholic family. And I can never thank my parents enough for the upbringing in the Catholic Church. All the discipline and the teaching and that I was able to learn, and the education I got were just priceless. And I can never thank my parents enough. And as I got older, out of high school, I was not sure what I wanted to do. My friends were going off to college, and I hadn't any intention of going to college and didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I went out to California to visit my brother, who had just been released from the Navy. He was a Navy SEAL, and I lived with him for a while. And while I was out there, before I was out there, he had received an infilling of the Holy Spirit and invited me to go to a church service while I was out there. And I went, and at that time I knew in my life I needed something else. I appreciate all I learned as a young boy, but I needed something else. I needed something more personal. Yeah. And this really was very personal when I was baptized and Jesus came into my heart. And it really doesn't get much more personal than that. Right. And from that point on, I've done my best. I haven't always been perfect by a long shot, but I've done my best to be a solid Christian man, and when I have made mistakes, I've tried to make up for them.
That's awesome.
Married Vicki a few years later, and been walking with her and the Lord ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's interesting. I'm curious how your brother got into that, but how did you then come back to Ohio? Like, how did you come back here? What was that whole process, and how did you come to this church?
Well, I was probably a little homesick, and decided I wanted to come back. And before I got on the plane, and a week or so before, I should say, my brother sat me down with his pastor, and he talked to me about things I would face when I got home. And in the meantime, Jamie had called Pastor Newstrand and told him he was sending his younger brother back to Newark and try to look out for me. And the church did. They first Sunday I was in an Apostolic church, Charlie Edge invited me out for dinner. And him and his wife Nancy took me out, and then they invited me to play basketball with the boys on Monday nights. We used to play at the old Starlight School before we had a gymnasium.
Yeah.
So I started doing that and made some friends and kind of got my feet established. And
that's awesome. You had provision to come here, and you were set up, and so you've been here ever since. That's awesome. What year was that?
That was 1973.
Wow.
I graduated in 72, and that would have been the spring of 73.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Vicki, you guys got, you can start as well, wherever you would like. I would like to hear your story as well.
Okay. Well, this church has been a part of my life and my family for many years. My mother was telling me my great-grandmother Brown was saved down on East Main Street in a tent revival.
Oh, wow.
And that was the beginning of the church being established here in Newark. And that was probably, she didn't know quite the year, probably late 20s, early 30s. And then my grandmother, of course, came to church, and my mother, when my mother was young. As they got older, they kind of got away from church. And my mother got married and had children. And I think we started back when I was 7. It's been a few years ago. And my brother was about 10, and my sister was probably about 4 when we started coming back to church, and coming ever since. I wasn't traded for anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. So were you coming here when he
Yes.
came in? Okay.
Yes.
And that's how.
Yes. All the girls were excited when Tim came to church.
He chose you.
I played it kind of cool. Just to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cute. So you guys, how long did you guys date before?
What?
A couple of weeks, wasn't it,
Was it?
before we got married?
No. We got married in 74. So we dated probably maybe a year.
Okay.
A little over.
Probably over a year.
Before we
Yeah.
got married.
Yeah. I love that. So you decided to make the change from Catholicism. What principles differed that made you make the switch that were like significant to you, that you felt were right to choose this?
Catholicism to me was more ritual, ceremonies, things like that. And I'm speaking about me personally. I won't speak for anybody else, but to me, it wasn't as personal as the apostolic faith is to me. It's much more of a more personal experience with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And, you never miss Sunday Mass in the Catholic Church. I mean, you just don't miss service.
Yeah.
And those are good things. I mean, those disciplines.
Right.
But I'm in a place in my life now that I want to be in church. I don't have to be in church.
Yeah.
But I really want to be there. And when I'm not there, I really miss it.
Yeah.
So, in relationships, you seem to develop much more personal relationships, not only with the Lord, but with people. You really get to know them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the first things that struck me when I got associated with the Apostolic Church was you could just tell they were genuine quality people that really down to earth, genuine people, no facades. And it was really, really eye-opening to me.
Yeah. Well, I will say, and this is probably one of the main reasons why I chose to, start with you as one of the first ones, when you are very good at very consistent when you can come to Friday early morning prayer. And when I am able to go, when I go and you're there, you are you're a powerful prayer warrior. And to hear you pray in early morning prayer is very, very powerful for me. And it is, if I'm sitting there and it's early morning and I'm tired and all this stuff, and then I hear you and you are praying for Vicki and you're praying for your children and you're praying for, and you just go down the list, and it is a very, every single time you pray for everyone, you hit your list, and that is, I think like you said, the ritual, and you go through, but the consistency in your prayer. And I was talking to Bishop for the last podcast, and I was just talking to him, and he said that consistency. And so I think for you, you're so used in our church as a leader and someone who we see, who everyone sees as you're consistent. And when I hear you pray, you're a very powerful prayer. And so that has taught me how to pray, listening to you in morning prayer. And, I was raised in this, and but you learn as you go. You learn different things from different people. You hear people praying, and you are one of the people who have helped me to learn how to pray.
That's very kind of you, but I've learned from the best. I mean, we've had prayer warriors in this church, you know that.
Yes.
I've learned from the best. So.
Yes. Well, it comes down, and I'm blessed to hear you.
Very kind of you say that.
So thank you. But yes, Sister Vicki, I was raised in this as well. And it's kind of been talked about in our class this past week, I think. But just kind of as someone who was raised in this, it's just kind of like, okay, like I didn't have a big switch, or I didn't have something significant. But for you, what is your, what would you say is like if you have something that you would say has kept you, or something that you've been through that has kind of been your significant moment, if you have any of those, or just things throughout that have kept you?
Well, probably one of the biggest influences in my life is my mother. My mother is almost 94 years old, and she was here at church whenever the doors were open. She gave of her time, of her talents, of her, sometimes her financial, and she just lived the life before me and my brother and sister. Eventually, my father was saved, and my grandfather was saved. And but more than that, I think as you get older and mature in the Lord, it becomes much more personal. And you really seek after the Lord, and you try to study His Word. And I was just, the other day I was in the car, and I pray when I'm in the car, and I was just saying, Lord, I'm so thankful that you touched my heart and my soul. I love that when you do that. It's like Daddy. He's my daddy. And he has come down and touched me in the rough times. Tim and I have had a few rough times. In the good times, he's there. Just consistent.
Yeah.
You know, I just try to be faithful and loyal to the Lord because He's faithful and loyal to me.
Yeah. That's true. It's very true. He is faithful, and so it's when I'm going through life or whatever, and then it just hits you like, man, even when I don't even think about it, you have still been faithful. You've still been good. So his consistency and his faithfulness towards me makes me want to turn and be consistently faithful to him, even though I fail at that all the time.
We all do.
So I should probably ask you questions that I actually sent you and kind of go along with my list, shouldn't I, and not just go off the top. So were there any significant milestones in I know I've kind of asked you, but what other significant milestones since coming to this church that you feel like have kind of just grown you in your faith?
Probably getting married would be the biggest thing. Just to have somebody to live the life with day by day and share, my experiences with, and raising a family, and making a marriage work. Day by day, those are the things that keep you strong spiritually, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If you do those right, you're probably on a pretty good track to maintaining a good spiritual life. Whether it be church attendance, prayer, giving, whatever it would be, just being consistent. You mentioned that several times.
Mm-hmm.
Being consistent in what you do.
Yeah.
It's not that you do any more than anybody else, but what you do, you're consistent at it. And I think that's more than any one significant thing that happened. I think it's just consistency over the years, and having a wife to live it with me and help me along the way has been huge.
Yeah. I love that. It's something else that Bishop talked about was priorities. And if you have God as the top, the main thing, and then your family, and kind of go down in your priority list, and kind of like what you were just saying, priorities. And it's true, since I've gotten married, I've seen my parents, and I've seen that relationship, and then but when you get married, it's like, oh wow, like the parallels between my relationship with God, as a the bridegroom and the bride there's a lot of parallels that you see when you're going through it. And so he is our father, but he's also our husbandman. So it teaches you in real life scenario, like what you're going through, to the spiritual. So I think God does that a lot with things that we go through. But yeah, that parallel, that's just another parallel, husband and wife. So that's awesome. Sister Vicki, who has been the most impactful person in your life?
Well, as I mentioned, my mother.
Yes.
My mother was a strong Christian. Once she committed her life to the Lord, that was it.
Yeah.
And she raised us in the church, and that's all we knew. So therefore, we had our roots established. And as you get older and you mature in the Lord, it's like a tree. The roots just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you become just firm in the Lord. And, life's little storms, when they come by, your tree won't be toppled because you're established.
Mm-hmm.
You also have, we have wonderful pastors that we can go to. They pray for us, and they are very wise. And I can see the life that they live.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is encouraging when we all go through things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The faithfulness of those who have come before us. It's very powerful. And you guys are a testimony as well with your life. So I know we haven't talked about it, but you were diagnosed with cancer. And so a lot of people, it's a death sentence. People, when you hear that word, it's very scary. And yet God has kept you. And so would you like to talk about that?
I would.
That journey?
Yeah. Back around just before Christmas, back in, I think it was 2017, I started developing double vision and didn't really think much of it, and figured it was probably some kind of a optical thing, So we went to the doctor and they couldn't find anything. So they decided they needed to do an MRI, and when they did the MRI, they found that I had a brain tumor. And the brain tumor was caused by a rare cancer called multiple myeloma. And it's an incurable cancer, but treatable. And the treatment is chemotherapy and radiation, and then stem cell transplants. And I had a stem cell transplant, I think it was 2018 maybe, I'm not sure. And it was successful, but I relapsed and had to have another stem cell transplant. And since then, I've been in complete remission. And at the time, you get that first word that, you've got cancer. It is the first thing you think is a death sentence. And you just, how many more days, months, weeks do I have left? You just don't know. And to this day, I don't know. Of course, like Pastor told me, he said, nobody knows.
Yeah.
We're all
right
on borrowed time.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, you live one day at a time, and I'm a blessed man. I'm feel good, and I've had some after effects of the cancer that I'm dealing with, but nothing that we can't deal with, and there's a lot of people who have a whole lot worse than I do. Really, Rich Vance told me the same thing Sunday morning. Talked to him about his cancer, and so a lot of people have a whole lot worse than we do. So, very thankful. My wife's been a tremendous support. Never missed an appointment with me. She's always there with me, and I told her right from the get-go she doesn't have to be there, but it sure makes a big difference if she is.
Yeah.
And I mean that sincerely. So.
I have to go and make sure that he gets his medicines, and I rat him out to the doctor because he won't tell him things if I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I hate taking her with me.
It makes a difference, but it's also, why'd you have to tell him that? I love that. Well, I think that's powerful about, like, you know, that relationship you just have as someone who will come with you. And how did you take the news when you first, were you with him at that appointment? Did you go to that first?
Yes. I had just retired. I worked at the health department for 20 years as a public health nurse. And it was late December when we found out. And I was at women's prayer on a Tuesday morning, and he called me and he said his nose had started to bleed and he had double vision. So I said, well, I'm going to call and get you in right away. So I called the ophthalmologist, and they said, we need him right now. And they didn't come right out and say cancer, but they referred him to specialists. When we got the news that he had a brain tumor, I was devastated. I mean, it was my husband that I loved.
Yeah.
And I was just stunned. I was in a fog for 2 weeks. I just could not grasp it. My husband was cancer.
Yeah.
You know, and then to find out that it was multiple myeloma, which there's no cure, but there's treatment. My grandfather, my dad's dad, died of this disease when I was 7 years old. So, of course, it scared me to death. And I just, Lord, what's going on? You know, how did this happen to such a good man? Tim is so kind and considerate and has such a sweet spirit about him. Sometimes you think, this isn't fair. Why Tim? Yeah. So I struggled with it.
Yeah. So, were you were you kind of, when you heard the news, were you in a fog was it kind of a quiet household for 2 weeks? I mean, was it just, how did that all come?
Well, I had an MRI done by Dr. Law, and the next morning he called me and talked to me on the phone. He told me that I had a brain tumor, and it seemed like my immediate thinking was, should I tell Vicki or should I tell my mother? I certainly was worried about telling my mother, who was in her 90s, late 90s, but from the advice of people smarter than I am, they said, you really need to tell them. So I did. And, but maybe I wasn't as fearful as maybe Vicki was, because she had seen her grandfather go through a very difficult death. And I didn't know what to expect. So,
yeah.
I maybe wasn't as fearful as she was.
Yeah. Wow. So, you went on a journey. You went through, and what did you, and this could be for either of you, where did you draw the strength most? Where was that? I mean, just personal prayer life? Did you reach out? Did you, what, to people in the church? What was your kind of like, I don't know, did you need an escape, or did you just kind of come together? That's just an amazing thing, you know?
I would say both a personal prayer life in the church. People would say, we're praying for you. We're praying for Tim. They would send us cards of encouragement.
Baskets of cards.
I saved every one of them. I still have them. And Tim goes through them once in a while. But I remember one time when he was in the Janes, and he was so sick. And the doctors weren't really that optimistic. And my daughter lives in Columbus, about 15 minutes away from the hospital, so I was staying with her. And I remember going to her house. She was in bed asleep because she worked nights then. Sitting in the chair in her living room and just bawling my eyes out and just praying. And, Lord, just you've got to help me through this. You've got to touch Tim. I can't do it without him.
Yeah.
We've been together 50 years now. And so, and also reading the Word. Sometimes the Lord will give you scripture. Sometimes I'll just open up my Bible and it'll just fall open to a passage.
Yeah.
And that gives you so much encouragement.
Yeah.
And you think, God, do you hear me? Do you hear my prayers?
Yeah.
Do you even care?
Right.
At times you're almost angry with God. And because we're human and we get angry.
Yeah.
And I was angry there for a little bit. Like this just isn't fair.
Yeah.
But as the pastor says, God is just. And you just hang on and you just pray and believe.
Yeah.
And I just knew, I don't know when at the point in his recovery, but I just knew that the Lord was going to bring me through it, and he wasn't going to take him from me then.
Yeah.
And here he is.
Here he is. That's a powerful, powerful testimony. It's amazing. I'm so, I was, kind of here during that time, and I, hearing the announcements, and yeah, we were all praying and all of that. So just know that people were praying. I didn't send a letter, but people prayed.
Can't tell you how much the church family means to you when you're in times like this, and starting with our pastors who are just tremendous ministers, but even as much so friends and caring for us. It was tremendous. Most of the time when I was in the hospital was during the COVID times, and there were so many times Vicki couldn't come and see me. That wasn't allowed in the hospital. And those were some dark days that I honestly don't know how I made it through. I really don't. Yeah. Other than the prayers of my church family, my family and friends, and God's mercy. So.
Yeah. Those were scary times without that, needing that. And then that on top of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a month before I saw you, I think. Because when COVID first hit, it came down to where they would only let 2 family members in. And then it got to be no visitors at all.
Yeah.
I think the time that you couldn't come see me was when I was in there for the graft versus host disease, which is a
Yes.
battle between my body and the stem cells I received from my sister. They're trying to reject. So it's a disease called graft versus host disease. And I was in the hospital for like 2, maybe 3 months fighting that during the COVID time. This was after the stem cell transplants.
Wow.
So
God really put a bubble around you, because those were just times where people were just, you were in there.
Right.
Sometimes people didn't come back out. I mean, it's just so, especially with immunocompromised, situations where your body's fighting, and then it's gotta, get rejected. You have people, you don't know who's coming in your room, nurses, what they're bringing from other rooms.
yeah,
And God kept you. That's
He sure did.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
enough of that.
Don't want to relive that.
No. It's behind. Done with that. We're here. So I'll ask one more question. What does it mean, to you personally, what does it mean to be a pillar in the church? And what does that take?
Well, I've never considered myself a pillar. I have relied on many pillars. And the thing I see in the pillars of the church is their consistency in all walks of life. First of all, they live a life that's above reproach. They're always faithful to church. I don't have access to who gives what, but you just know these people are faithful in their giving.
Yeah.
And when you're down and they're sending you cards, and man, these are really solid people. Like I said before, just really quality people.
Yeah.
What a foundation for a church to be built on.
Yeah.
We have so many people in our church that I look up to as pillars. And I don't, for a second, feel like I'm one of them. I really don't. I don't say that, humbly. I know me. So,
Well, you're a pillar to me.
it's kind of you. But
You both are awesome.
you didn't ask me one question I wanted to answer.
Answer it. What is it?
Who was impacted my life?
I'm sorry. Yes, please.
The first one would have to be my parents, who instilled some good stuff in me.
Yes.
My brother, who witnessed to me and led me to the Lord. Pastor Newstrand, who was my first pastor here, had a profound impact on my life. And, of course, brother and sister Shostrand, who have taken the torch from them and have been a tremendous influence in my life. And friends, just really good friends. Yeah.
I know that you have, you were talking about how you went fishing and you've done a lot of camping trips with a lot of the other guys. I know that you say you don't think that you're a pillar, but I think being involved is in going to things like that. People, the more they see you, the more they, you become friends with them, and you see them and you talk to them, and you have a relationship with them. And so you've gained friends here. You've been friends with, older, younger, who you've gone on trips with. I know a lot of other young guys in our group talk about, going on trips with you and stuff like that, and they really enjoyed that. And those are monumental times in their life, and they enjoyed that too. So I just think that's, all of that.
I received the benefit of that myself from those ahead of me. So, yeah. I see what you're saying.
I love that.
I want to ask you something, Tim. Who got the chicken that the skunk
That goes with me to my grave.
off the fire? You won't tell.
The story
no,
is,
tell the story.
there were 6 of us from church here that went to Lake Erie
Uh-huh.
on a weekend fishing trip.
Oh,
And
no.
I was the cook. And I had marinated these chicken quarters to grill
Mhm.
while the rest of the guys were down at the dock cleaning fish. So my son Brian and Dave Ryan's son Mark Ryan were with me as we were getting dinner ready. And I had put these quarters on the grill. It was a grill that was right on the ground.
Uh-huh.
And a skunk came up and grabbed one of the chicken quarters off the grill. And I chased the skunk down and got it back
No, you did not.
and put it on the grill, back on the grill. And I promised I would never say who ate that, other than to say that I wasn't the one who ate it.
Oh, no. So someone ate the skunk. Oh, my gosh.
He hadn't chewed on it. He just carried it off. You might want to edit that out.
No, that's golden. That is staying in there. That's not getting taken out.
Guys, with 12 children, you don't waste anything.
Oh my gosh. You got it back. You fought a skunk. You got it back.
To be fair about it, the skunks are very docile up there. They come around.
I don't care.
They walk
don't
under your
care.
chairs and stuff, and you don't bother them, and they don't bother you, other than
Until they take
steal
your
your
food.
chicken.
Oh my gosh. That's a great story. So you just went up to it and said, "Hey, can I have that back?" Actually, I want that.
I think actually what he did was when he saw me coming after him, he kind of laid it down.
He's like, "Here you go, sorry." Don't mess with Tim's food. Oh my gosh, that is great. Oh my goodness. I don't even remember the original question. What, I don't know. We'll go with another one. What lessons, and if you want to answer this too, go ahead. What lessons have you learned that you wish you could go back and tell your younger self or this generation?
Oh my. Lessons that I've learned. I guess I've learned no matter what life throws your way, do not give up the ship. Stay in the ship.
Yep.
Eventually, you'll ride out the storm, and there'll be smooth and calm waters for a little while until the next storm comes along.
Yeah.
You ride that one out, and you just keep doing it and doing it. And the Lord calms the waters.
Yeah. I mean, that's powerful from, you guys have definitely been through some tough storms. So you can say, just hold on. Yep.
My advice would be to submit yourself to the authority of a good pastor in church and just live a consistent life, but submit yourself to his authority and his wisdom, and can't go wrong. If he's a godly man, you can't go wrong.
All right. I think that's a great place to, yeah, amen to that. Great place to stop. Well, thank you for watching Victory Echoes, our Christian Apostolic Newark podcast. If you would like to know more, you can find us on YouTube and Rumble and all the things that are linked to this video. Thank you so much for watching.